Welcome back. The rise of AI and tech has simplified our lives around the world. More and more simple tasks like making a phone call or turning on the lights are being done by AI. Now, it's already leading to a thing called tech-induced brain drain. Edits Tianshan explains.
Writing emails, letters, even entire novels is just the beginning. Powerful artificial intelligence softwares can now also compose music, create videos, and complete most administrative tasks.
We can see that it can also be a very powerful tool for retrieving information, making recommendations to us, helping write the first draft of an email. You know, there are many ways it could improve our lives for the better as well.
While some are better known than others, there are nearly 15,000 AI startups in the United States alone as of last March. And many are already being integrated into our daily lives.
We're at the very beginning of AI in the mainstream. It's only going to get better. And it already is at the stage of, we're having this conversation about, is it going to replace jobs?
And with the new AI technology carrying out a growing number of basic tasks on our behalf, some experts agree that we may soon forget some of the skills we once considered essential. Part of a process that's already been happening with the introduction of smartphones in our lives.
When I was younger, I used to have to know all of my friends' phone numbers in order to call them up if I wanted to communicate with them. And now I don't. I know my own phone number. I know my wife's phone number. I don't know many more phone numbers than that. And I think that's okay, honestly. I don't think, you know, I could maybe think that it's lazy that kids today don't know phone numbers.
Our brains could be getting lazier, some say, when AI is used to predict the words we're typing and even complete the rest of our sentences. But others argue that this could actually allow human minds to develop by focusing on more complicated skills and tasks as part of the natural evolution.
I went to a high school science fair a few years ago, and it was shocking how many people who were, you know, 9th, 10th grade, 8th grade even, were able to have a pretty good mastery of technology and were able to do fairly sophisticated things with neural networks that I couldn't even do, probably still can't do. And they were not generally educated in this in like their high schools. They were going and learning this stuff on their own. So that's the big thing, is that people have lots of different ways of learning.
As artificial intelligence makes its way into virtually every facet of our lives, the skills we learn and the way we learn them are bound to change. It is Tianshan, CGTN, Los Angeles.
For more on how AI is affecting education and, more importantly, our brain, a big hello to Danielle, the CEO of CollegeNode and tech expert. Good to see you again and welcome back. You know, here's a simple question. Do you think all this tech stuff, and I know we've talked about this before, is making our kids or us smarter or not so?
I would say definitely smarter, right? They can focus their brain on more higher level cognitive skills, and they don't have to do simple stuff like, you know, turning on the light. Now, things like writing, there's some debate on whether kids who are incapable of writing a cover letter or resume is good or bad. But I would say that is an inevitable trend. And so instead of fighting it, you know, let's just embrace technology and encounter the next evolution cycle of human development.
But look, I mean, I'll just give you some random stats here. I mean, the United States ranks somewhere in the 20s in the world in terms of math and English. I think English is even worse, in fact. I don't know. I mean, I meet these young kids. They can't write. They can barely read. They clearly can't do math most of the time. I mean, maybe you are around smarter people, but I'm talking about the average person who's on TikTok and YouTube and doing whatever they're doing. I just feel like, for lack of a better word, we've gotten lazy.
Is that a bad thing or a good thing? You know, like last week I had lunch with one of my friends. He was a professor at Columbia University, and we ended up talking about some math problems, and we did the calculation, and he whipped out his calculator and he did the calculation on his calculator because he doesn't trust his mind 100% to get the right answer. Right?
Like, come on, he's a professor at Columbia. Again, I'm talking about regular people who aren't at Columbia. The last package, we had memorizing things, talking about sort of problem solving, if you will, in the world, and just being focused on doing one thing at a time. I mean, we all have attention deficit disorder, I feel like, but you can't deny that technology has had also an adverse impact. I suspect you probably monitor your kids' social media stuff just to make sure there's not stuff polluting their minds, right?
Oh, that's two totally different issues. Like, I don't let my kids get on social media. Absolutely not. But I do let him play with ChatGPT. Actually, we use ChatGPT together, and we use that as a learning tool. So embrace the technology that can help him learn. I see AI as a tool that can augment human learning. Now, like social media, that's a total different, ballpark. And my son is not getting onto social media until probably when he's in college.
Can AI teach a child or a student to, for example, and you're well aware of this, getting into colleges, conducting interviews, filling out applications, things that typically human to human would help educate? Could technology, I guess, take the place of what maybe you and I do?
Absolutely. I did not teach my son a single bit of math. He's 8 years old. My son is about 3 grades above his grade level in terms of math. How did I do it? There's this math game called Prodigy. And what you do is you go around and you kill monsters. But before you can fire at them, you have to solve math problems. So in order to level up, my son self-taught math using the software. And you can't even stop him. He does chores at home. He throws out the garbage for the privilege of playing this game. I mean, think about it. He does housework for the right to learn math.
I'm starting to feel a little bit, I'm a little
AI.
concerned and feeling a little bit bad about some families that I know. Let's talk about human creativity, because this is a big part of AI, right? Because not only does it obviously solve the basic problems, but it can actually figure out what the probability or solutions might be to a problem, and typically that's done by humans. But ultimately, we want to be the final decision maker, but I think this part's pretty cool.
You know what? So right now, the machines can already be used to augment a lot of human decision making. But I would say if you have a kids in school right now, you should ask yourself, what are the jobs that can be automated, and what are the jobs that's highly unlikely to be automated, right? So for example, I would say politicians will always be human, right? We always want other humans to represent ourselves. Babysitters will likely still be human because, as a parent, I would say I want some human touch to babysitting my kids. But a lot of jobs, such as, typewriter or, attorney.
Right. No, I get it. I get it. It's these are sort of basic functions. If there's ever a chief complaining officer, I think my kids would do really well. The brain part of the whole thing, the teaching your kids, but how about adults? How about us? I think adults also have had an issue of sort of making our brains work more efficiently with all this technology that's in front of us.
You know what? Like, consumer gets to choose, right? So big companies created AI, and consumer using their money choose to be lazy and use these technology. So I would say, since the consumer is choosing these shortcuts, since the consumer is choosing using ChatGPT to write emails, I would say more power to them, because that will free up valuable time to do other stuff. Like, let me give you an example, right? My grandmother knows how to make soy sauce. I don't, right? I'm sure in the event of a zombie apocalypse, that will be a very useful technique to have. But for all intent and purposes, that's a vestigial skill. So a lot of skills that you and I taken granted for going through college will need to be rethought, and we need to adapt to this changing world instead of fighting it.